Hello, good morning. Hello. Today, I'm currently recording this. It's 6:22 a.m. So pre-employment podcast on this one. And just my whole week schedule's been kind of like thrown out of whack this week. So that's why I'm doing this in the morning. But today, I could dive right into it, but I like usually giving a life recap. My voice is a bit shot. I've been practicing singing and singing in other voices, singing in above and below my vocal range to stretch it best I can. So my voice is a bit upset in there. So if I sound more groggy, I'm still just as enthused and still just as excited about the topic. I'm just probably can't relay that with my voice today as well as I normally would be able to. I'm also driving up from home, not my house in College Park, so this will be a shorter one. Shorter than it would normally be if it was like an hour long. Anyway, so I've had a really good weekend. Had the Super Bowl. It's warm for once in this car. It's 46 degrees Fahrenheit. That's awesome. That's like quick maths. 509 degrees Kelvin, roughly, I think. I might be wrong on that. I always forget if it's 463 or if it's 486. I really should know this by now. But anyway. So, today, wanted to talk about... I've been trying to figure out how to phrase this, but generosity and why you should have it. It's probably a good title. Generosity and why you should have it. Generosity. I was going to say, raise your hands if you know what generosity is. Generosity, just to get into what it is, it's a simple concept. It's giving, but it's positively giving. Like, you can be generous in negative things, and that's not generosity. I can give people more debt, or you could pass on bad stuff. That's not generosity. So it's positive things, giving, and it's with a purpose. I would argue it is with a purpose, because if you give positively, well, that's just a gift. But if you give positively with meaning, then I would say that's the borderline between just doing nice things and generosity. I don't think a lot of people put meaning in it when they think about it. It's generosity. It should have purpose behind it. Otherwise, why are you even doing it? So, I want to dive in. Generosity, positively giving with purpose. PGP, PGWP, positively giving with purpose. So, why should you be generous? Why should you have this trait about yourself, this character aspect, this skill even? It's a skill to be generous. Not everyone is, and it's something that takes time to learn and train. So why should you even bother? Well, let's get into that. First off, ideally, I'm pretty sure everyone can. Everyone can think of a time in their life when someone was generous to them. Just you, me, and everyone else you tell about this podcast will have at some point had some generosity shown their way, no matter how small or large they think it is. In my case, probably the largest source of generosity, I've been given a lot, and I'm not trying to go super spiritual with this either. I'm trying to make this spirituality is practical, but I'm not trying to give the source of motivation from my faith. Although that very much so is a source of motivation. The do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Golden rule. That's pretty universal. But no, what I mean is, we can all imagine what it's like to have generosity shown towards us. So the biggest, human need that has been met with generosity and not met by my own works was my college tuition. I got scholarships. Scholarships are generous, people generously giving their money for the purpose of education. But I also, anything that the scholarships couldn't cover, my parents did. With the exception of the classes I failed, I had to cover those. But my parents generously provided for my college education. And it's ironic that my mom, she likes to, not hold it over me, but she was like, she likes to know how much she spent to see if it's worth it or not. And she totaled it up, and it was like, I can't remember if it was like 88 grand or 104 grand. I can't remember, over a 5-year period that I went to college. It was a long time and a lot of money. And now it's like, I tell my parents, I'm like, hey, I make that amount or an amount similar to that. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to expose myself. I make an amount similar to that over the course of such and such amount of time. Like, your investment over the last 5 years is setting me up for 50 years of success. Like, it was worth it, financially speaking, to do what you did. Because, when you're old and decrepit, like, who's going to be one taking care of you? Let's be honest. So, paying it forward type stuff. So I'm wearing glasses, and I got, the bridge of my nose is, for some reason, really sensitive. And it's really uncomfortable while I'm wearing my glasses. It's strange. But we've all had generosity shown towards us, and that's because, well, no, that's not because, but that is something desirable. Like, you've experienced it in your life, you know it's something desirable, so you already have a baseline knowledge of, okay, this is a good thing, this is something positive, and ideally, no matter how you think of yourself, unless you're everyone's evil, but if you're unless you're truly a villain, you generally go towards good things. You generally want good things for yourself and to do good things. Now, you're not humans. We don't do that all the time, and we don't do that a lot. But we like to think of ourselves in a high, good light. And how we do that is by doing good things. Generosity is one of those things. So that's the reason, kind of, one, is you've experienced it, so continue to propagate it, continue to have generosity. Reason number 2, generosity changes you when you are generous. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have a heart, now I'm getting more philosophical. If you have a heart of forgiving, a heart for generosity, your heart has a lot less hold on your stuff, usually. You don't necessarily care about the things of life as much as the people in it, which is a great goal to set yourself towards, is to care more about people than the things they have and what you can get out of them. Life is pretty transactional, pretty contractual, in a sense of you get something, you do something, you get something out of it. Generosity is not that way, at least not in an immediate sense, and not in a repayment sense. So you can loan stuff. Loaning, by the way, is not generosity. That is business. So don't be mistaken. Generosity is also, part of that is giving without expectation for return. So you might not expect return, but you probably will get return, just not in the way you were expecting. So if I am generous time and time again, and I've done this before, to someone, let's say I buy them lunch every week. We hang out, I buy them lunch every week. I'm generous then. They might not be able to repay you lunch at this moment, but in the future, maybe they'll buy you lunch. Or maybe if you, let's say your car breaks down and you don't have AAA, you can call them up and they'll be there, because you've built rapport with that relationship. Or maybe, you're moving your house and you absolutely need, another set of hands, or you want another set of hands, and just say, hey, I'm moving my house this day. Are you able to help, please? And they'll probably show up. And that's a result of generosity in their lives, trying to make them... generosity is contagious. When you're generous to people, they want to be generous to you. That's why when I meet with friends, I've been doing this more and more as I've been working, but I did this even before that. I pay for meals, but I only pay meals every other time. It's very much so a mindset of I'm paying it forward. You'll get the next one. That's what I say. I'll pay for meals. I'll be generous, even if there is no next one. That's the mindset. You'll get the next one. And when you say that, when you do that, and when you say that, it's almost like a psychological trigger of, okay, I have to get the next one in their minds, or I will cover the next one. So you're already setting them up for success to be generous, but also it's not a matter of if we meet again, it's when we meet again we're doing this. There's like an old advertisement experiment about this. When you put a Coke vending machine and a Pepsi vending machine next to each other, they both do better business. It's weird. If you have one by itself, it's not as good as putting both of them next to each other. And the reason for this is because when there's two there, when you have one, the question in your mind is, do I want soda or not want soda? So you're already like, do I want to buy something or not? But when a Coke and a Pepsi machine are next to each other, that's not the question. The question is, do I want Coke or do I want Pepsi? So you've already jumped the level of, okay, I'm going to buy something, but what do I buy? Because there's options. So it's like that too. Generosity is like that psychologically with humans. I hate to say it, but I'm a master at manipulating people. I don't like it. I don't want to be, but I will use this skill to do it positively for people. And generosity is one way. I will show generosity to incite generosity in other people. Because I don't need to be generous to feel good about myself, but a lot of people do. I feel good about myself because I have an eternal portion in heaven, and that's again, spiritual stuff. That's not the point. The point is, generosity is a positive character trait and an infectious one. I guess lastly, we'll do maybe, I might do 4 points, but 3 points about generosity, why you should have it. First was, I forgot what first was, but you can just rewind the video. Second was very much so, life is very transactional. Generosity shouldn't be, but it often is, just in not the ways you were expecting. The third, and I kind of hinted on this, is the third, generosity detaches your value from things and towards people. And like I said, I did talk about this briefly, but think about what's worth it in life. People on their deathbed don't say, oh, I wish I went to the office more, or oh, I wish I had this and that and the other thing in my life. Oh, I wish I got that new Xbox. No, people on their deathbed don't think about that. They think about, oh, I wish I spent more time with my family. Or, oh, I wish I really got to know her better. I wish there were people here. That's another one. It's sad and lone, because that person was not generous in life. if you are generous, people will show up for your needs. That's another aspect of it, but generosity gives you a worth and a value for people. It elevates the needs of others above I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without sounding deprecative. I don't know if that's a word, but it sounds like one. Not to self-deprecate. But you want to be generous because it puts people above things in your life. And that's where I say, like, it's a skill, it's something you train. That's why it is. The more you do it, the more detached from objects you are, and the more your value shifts to what really matters. Now, if I need to explain to you why people really matter above things, then you should listen to my podcast on love. If that's not your baseline, then this isn't going to make sense for you. And the other thing about love is part of love, not all of it, part of love is sacrifice. But it's also wanting what's best for other people. So, if you want what's best for them, and you can provide it, then you might as well. Like, generosity. Now, being able to, that's the other thing, is there's limits to generosity. It is not wise, we'll put it this way, it's not wise, it's not humanly wise. It is wise in a, again, bigger biblical sense, but it's not humanly wise to give above your means. If you make $50,000 a year in your pocket, and all your utilities, cost of living, cost $25,000, you probably shouldn't give $40,000 away. It's not sustainable. Oh man, my voice is like really shot now. Like, that doesn't make sense in a human sense. Now that does actually make sense in a religious sense, and I could talk about that maybe briefly. God promises that He will provide for our needs, especially our baseline needs, like food, clothing, shelter, that kind of stuff. Like, He's pretty explicit with that. So if those things cost money, and you are giving more than you make, well, those things will still be provided for you. You don't have to worry about that. That's a guarantee. You gotta have faith, but, and sometimes people will be the avenue where those are provided. Quick story. I almost did a podcast on storytelling, but I don't have the voice to do storytelling right now. Quick story. College. Finished up my summer freshman year. It's really hard to get internships as a freshman. So instead, I was praying about this. Got a job on campus as a teacher's assistant, teaching high school kids. And we were teaching high school kids engineering, like practices. I remember talking to my pastor about this. So this is a larger story, but one door was shut, this door was open immediately the next day, praise God. And I was telling my pastor this. I'm like, hey, I've been really struggling to find work for this summer, and I really want to take this, but my campus housing doesn't work in the summer, and it's not economical for me to commute from home to class or this job every day. Home being 50 miles north, and then 50 miles south. 100 miles a day is not worth the gas or the time or the wear on the car or the effort to go do this semi-minimum wage job. I think it was 15 an hour, I think. No, that's not what it was. It was a one-time stipend. It was $3K for the entire summer or something, or $4K with taxes. I forgot exactly what it was. But it was like, okay, one lump sum, just do your job for 5 weeks. I'm like, cool. Good experience. But I was telling my pastor this, and I'm like, hey, like, I really want to take this job, and I like the professor who's doing it, but I can't. Like, there's no practical place to live. And he, I'm telling him this, and he just kind of like looks at me. He's like, well, you can live at my house. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, no, we have a spare bedroom in the basement. And I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, yeah, you can live there for the summer. I was like, what? Okay. And it came to realize I lived there for 5 weeks that summer. 2 of those weeks his family's on vacation, so it was nice. I got the house sit for them. But I realized, and this was something baked into me from that experience, was they were generous. But they weren't just generous with their money, because when you think generosity, you typically think money. They were generous with their home, their resources, their assets. They were generous with the building that God let them live in. And because of that, I have very much so a mindset in my life that whatever home I buy, rent, whatever, I'm going to be generous with too. If you need to crash on the couch, you crash on the couch, but I'm going to try and have maybe guest bedrooms or something where I can do this. 1 sec. Parking garage requiring my tag for once, again. Doesn't always do this. Oh, that's odd. Yeah, I just ordered a new exhaust pipe for my engine that we found the leak. It's on like a flexible tube. It's like $80-some order, but my dad and I are going to replace that soon. So hopefully the quality of these podcasts will increase because you'll get less car noise. But that is on order, so that's good. Anyway. Yeah, so he was generous to me, and through that I was able to work and gain great life experience, and academic and professional experience, all because of one family's generosity towards me. And they didn't get anything out of it necessarily when we were thinking it through, but in hindsight, they got free house sitting. I cleaned pretty much their entire kitchen for them, like took stuff out of the fridge, wiped it all down, put it back in type stuff, out of generosity. And then they got access to our Netflix for like 2 years before my parents changed the password. So it worked out pretty nicely for them. Yeah, that's an example of generosity and how it's impacted me, and why, all of this to say why you should have it, why you should be generous. So I hope this changes your life a little bit. I hope that you don't hold so tightly to the things in your life, but see them as a resource to spend on people and relationships. And that, you're not losing anything when you're generous. You're just paying it forward. So I like to think. And even if it's never repaid in this life, there is a God who saw it and will repay it in eternity. Assuming you love him, of course. And maybe this is another side tangent, but we're called to be generous to our enemies, and that's not going to make any sense to you if you're not Christian. But if you are, you know what I mean. And it's a hard thing to do. So, anyway, thank you for listening. I'm at work, 6:46 a.m. now. And I hope and pray that you are generous today. So enjoy this Monday, monochromatic Monday. I am wearing grays and blacks. But, yeah, enjoy your day. Thanks for listening. Bye.